The Wentz wagon continues to pick up steam. Nobody's slamming the brakes. It's unreal the amount of hype Carson Wentz is getting right now. You got the Philadelphia Eagles, who are rumored to be in the running with three other teams to trade up to the number one pick so they can pick him. I just hope Howie knows what he's doing. I mean, this guy better be the goddamn next Ginger Jesus. Mike Owens and Jeremy Burton are both here. I'm Adrian Fedque. Before we start, Philly Influencer is teaming up with Nick's Roast Beef, April 11th, Philly's home opener. We're having a tailgate. Purchase your ticket. It's $25. It's a beverage and sandwich combo. You get to eat all the Nick's Roast Beef sandwiches you want. It's delicious. It's unbelievably tasty. Yeah, so make sure you get there. DJ Sean Brace, I don't know his DJ name, but he's going to be spinning some music. And then also make sure you check out, come over to the draft party that we're hosting at Nick's Roast Beef April 28th. So let's bring the fellas on. I mean, these shenanigans from these trade rumors. I mean, oh my God, I thought we had enough of this last year, and now we're back at it again. And we still got a whole month until the draft.
Oh, boy, yeah, a whole month until the draft, really. And the ironic part about this whole situation is that, you know, the team that we would have to trade with again would be the Titans. Last year, we weren't able to pull it off. You know, there's reports out there of the rumored trade that Chip Kelly tried to pull off to get up to number 2 to get Mariota. This year, the Titans sit in the number 1 spot. And now there's reports that there's possibly 4 teams that are interested in moving up to that number 1 spot ahead of the Browns to get Carson Wentz. And, well, Carson Wentz is a guy who initially, when the mock drafts came out, went all over the place in the first round. But now the consensus in most of the mock drafts have Carson Wentz going in the top 5 and now possibly the number 1 overall pick, which is pretty wild considering that this guy is an FCS quarterback and he played at North Dakota State. So it says a lot about Carson Wentz and what he's proved during the combine and during his pro day. I mean, the guy, he's just on the rise. So, you know, we'll see what happens here, but there's a lot of rumbles of the Eagles possibly being involved in the trade.
You know, I went to a local peewee field with a T-shirt and shorts the other day, a couple of my buddies. I had to throw a couple goobers off my leg, but other than that, I mean, I was throwing 50-yard bombs on the money, no problem, no rush in my face. Yeah, that's what Wentz was doing the other day in his pro day. I mean, he turned so many heads, but does it really mean much when you don't have like a Luke Kuechly rushing your face? Or, you know, this kid's going to have a lot to learn when it comes to the NFL, coming from FCS college in North Dakota State. But, I mean, I just don't think he's worth jumping up to number 1 and giving up a first-round pick and a second-round pick next year. I mean, I think you stand pat at number 8, and it would be very bold of Howie to do this move. He is aggressive. He's been aggressive. It wouldn't surprise me. But no, I just don't think this is the time for the move. I want to stand pat. I want teams to jump in front of us and pick these 2 quarterbacks, and maybe somebody like Miles Jack falls to number 8. That's my guy.
Yeah, that's the consensus around Philadelphia right now is, well, why the hell would they want to trade up for this guy? I mean, this guy's got, I believe it's like 23 career starts, 600-plus career pass attempts at the FCS level. I mean, that's just nothing. But later in the show, we're going to get into why Howie Roseman might do this trade, because if you look at the pieces, some of it actually kind of fits together, and we will put the pieces to the puzzle together. But right now, I mean, it's the way Howie Roseman, the ineptitude he has drafting players, I don't know how the hell he could pull this off, because you're talking about drafting number 1, okay? So to get to number 1, according to the NFL draft trade chart, it's 3,000 points for the number 1 pick. I believe it's 1,400 right now to be at number 8. The calculation I did, next year, let's say the Eagles finish their average, they're 16th. That's 1,000 points. So 1,400 plus 1,000, that's 2 first-round picks right there. And to get to the 3,000, you're going to have to add another second-round pick in there. But here's the thing. You're tussling with 3 other teams to get to the top pick. So you're going to have to throw in at least another second-rounder if you want to get to number 1. So that's 2 firsts and 2 seconds. That's a lot. That's a lot to give up, considering how many holes this team has. And, I mean, Howie Roseman, he's not a good talent evaluator when it comes to draft time. I mean, Mike has the numbers there about that. So it would be very scary if they actually pull the trigger on this.
Yeah, and you know the thing with Howie Roseman too, I mean it's not like this guy has a good reputation around the league. His reputation isn't that good, so it's gonna. I mean it was pretty much a miracle that he was able to pull off that trade with the Dolphins. You know, sending Maxwell and Alonso there and being able to move up here in the first round to number 8. So that was kind of a miracle in itself. Yeah, I mean. The chances of him actually pulling this off and being able to outbid those other teams and move up to number 1 are very, very slim. You know, with these type of rumors about possibly moving up to number 1, I go back and forth every day. Really, some days I'm in favor of the move, some days I'm not. I've been a Wentz guy from the beginning. I really think that this guy is a real deal. And, you know, I guess you really have to think, is it worth the risk? I mean, if they go after him and they make the trade up to number 1 and they get him and it works out, well, you know, everything is great and dandy. Roseman will look like a genius. But if this backfires on the Eagles, well, I mean, geez, we could be set back for years to come. All you have to do is go back and look at the Redskins. They only traded up a few spots to get RG3, and it didn't work out for them, and it really set them back. So it's a tough situation.
Yeah, you look at Wentz. I mean, all his measurables, and you know, I heard the best pro day since. It's kind of ironic, best pro day since Sam Bradford. A lot of guys are saying so. That's kind of funny. Bradford's now in this roster and hasn't really made much of himself in his 5-year career thus far. And he was the number 1 overall pick from a well-known college like Oklahoma. So it goes to show you what, you know, the whole hype of the pro day can mean. But yeah, is it worth the risk? I personally don't think so. We have these assets next year that we would have to get rid of, and maybe the following year, you know, like Adrian said, we have to give up the first rounder this year, next year, and then a second rounder in 2017 and 18. Like that's just way too much for me. I think we can use those, keep those picks, continue to build. We can take a flyer on. I know Adrian doesn't like the name, but someone like Christian Hackenberg. You know, we were one of the first teams to go after him. I mean, I just don't think it's worth it. I think we have so many holes to fill, and we have so much money tied in the quarterback position already. Like if we pick Wentz at number 1, well, the number 1 draft pick gets the most money in the draft, and that's even more money tacking on the already $34 million or so guaranteed that we gave to Daniel and Bradford. So it's a lot of money tied in the quarterback position. I just think we can go another direction with this and stand pat.
Okay. Let's talk about Wentz himself. Let's talk about the man, the myth, and the legend. Well, I don't know if he's not a legend yet. But let me just say this about the pro day. He went 63 of 65 on the pro day. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what I see on tape, and I like what I see on tape. Now, I wanted to bring this point up too, because Doug Peterson does not care about the pro day. He doesn't care. He only cares about individual workouts. He explained this at his NFC coaches breakfast last week. So who cares about the pro day? Even though Mike Mayock said it was one of the best pro days he's ever seen, Mike Mayock's compared him to Andrew Luck, Cam Newton. He's saying his toughness and his leadership ability is like that of Phillip Rivers. I mean, high praise for Mike Mayock. But the reason why I like Carson Wentz is because of what I see on tape. And I think he can fit what Doug Peterson likes to do offensively. He's the smart kind of quarterback that Dougie likes. And we'll go around the table real quick. What do you guys like about Carson Wentz?
Yeah, I mean, well, when you look at the tape, first off, you notice his accuracy. He's really got pinpoint accuracy. He can, fit the ball in between two defenders. He can throw the ball, to a receiver along the sideline. The other thing you notice with him is his arm strength, his mechanics. And then, when you talk about off the field and what he does during the interviews, he's just got that it factor. The guy he really aced his interview at the NFL scouting combine, and just he was just went in there and said that he's ready to be a franchise quarterback. He had total confidence about it. He's ready to take on the challenge. So you really just got to like the way that Wentz answered all those questions during the interview at the combine. So I think when you put everything together on tape, and the other thing that you have to play into this is he is a guy that won 2 FCS championships. Yes, it is the FCS, but still, I mean, it counts as a championship. So he's won 2 of them, and it's not like he's playing for a no-name school in the FCS. He's playing for North Dakota State, which has won 5 straight championships. So it's a powerhouse school in the FCS right now. So I think that Wentz is he's definitely deserving of this pick. But I'll tell you what, especially if he goes number 1 with the team trading up to that pick, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him. So we'll see if he can, come through with all that pressure.
Well, what do I like about Wentz besides his hair and his bone structure? Well, you know what? One of the things I like is he can scoot. He's gotten like 500 or 600 yards a couple seasons, 2014, 2015, and under his belt. If you're at the 5-yard line, he's a big guy, big presence. He can, use it kind of like Cam Newton. That's where I see that comparison, where use your size to just get those couple yards if everything breaks down in the goal line. He can make all the throws. He's got a strong arm. They say his arm strength is second to Paxton Lynch in this draft, but still a strong arm. And he's a smart guy. He aced the Wonderlic test. Like Mike said, he conducts himself very well in interviews, says all the right things. One of the other big things I like is he's a winner. I mean, it's the FCS, but he's 20-3. He's got a 20-3 record in college, and he's got a lot of things you like, definitely.
All right, here's what I want to say about him being an FCS quarterback. Because history has shown that FCS quarterbacks can make a seamless transition to the pro game. Obviously, that kind of level, the speed of the game is not even anywhere near what it's going to be at the pro level. But consider this. 5 non-FBS quarterbacks have been taken in the first round since 1978. Doug Williams went 17th in 1978. Phil Simms went 7th, 1979. Ken O'Brien went 24th in 1983. Steve McNair went 3rd in 1995. And Joe Flacco went 18th in 2008. 3 of those guys won a Super Bowl, and another was a yard short of potentially winning one. So those are 4 guys that have played in the big game, and the only one that hasn't was O'Brien, but he wasn't even a FCS quarterback to begin with. So all those guys on this list in the last 38 years to be drafted in the first round have made it to the Super Bowl. So it's a little bit of a myth that, well, he's an FCS guy, well, he can't do it at the pro level. That's not true. And I will say this, too, about him. All right, so people talk about the learning curve, about the speed of the game with him. But where he has other prospects beat are with his feet. I mean, if you watch the combine, a lot of people like to watch the throws and the timing with the receivers and the accuracy of the ball. But what I look at as well are the feet. How quiet are your feet? How smooth are they? And Wentz, if you compare his feet to the rest of the class, it's not even close. Wentz, I love his feet. They're awesome. I mean, I can tell he's going to be a good dancer at his wedding.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he is a good dancer. So, but yeah, I mean, you said it all right there with Wentz. The guy really separated himself at the combine here from all the other quarterbacks. Initially, Goff was the guy that everyone was talking about. He was the guy that everyone had going to the Browns at number two. Then the combine kind of happened, and Wentz kind of just stole the show. And now Wentz is the one that everyone has going to the Browns at two, or possibly someone taking him at one.
Adrian, do you know what size shoe he wears? You know so much about the guy. um, yeah, he's got good feet. You can see his presence in the pocket. It's very important. I just want to see what he can do. Facing an NFL pass rush. And if he was drafted by the Eagles, he would sit back and learn for at least a year under Bradford and Chase Daniel. Chase Daniel, I said this in a previous show, but he knows Doug Peterson's offense better than anybody besides Doug himself. And he'll be a perfect mentor for both, Bradford for this 1 year and Wentz. And what's interesting with why, I'm kind of this could potentially happen is Bradford's contract is really just a 1 year deal with a pretty cheap buyout in 2017, which leads me to believe that we are really looking at getting a quarterback this year. Whether it's going to be number one overall, being Carson Wentz, or somebody later, I definitely think the Eagles are taking a quarterback and at some point. And the Sam Bradford contract is interesting and is a tell for that reason.
If you've been watching Doug Peterson, what he's been saying at the coaches' breakfast, at his press conference, at the combine, the word that he keeps using is smart when pertaining to the traits that he looks for in a quarterback. He wants one that wins. He wants one that has the work ethic, the intangibles, the toughness. And these are all characteristics that Mike Mayock said that Wentz has. So these are also traits that Alex Smith in Kansas City had. Smith is a guy that's also sneaky athletic, like Jeremy kind of talked earlier with Wentz. And, you wouldn't believe this, but Smith ran for 498 yards in 2015. That's the fourth highest among quarterbacks in the entire league. So he's going to take advantage of his smarts. He's going to take advantage of Wentz's wheels, just like he did with Smith's. I mean, if this trade happens, I do think he's a fit. So I don't think this would be a failure at all if this actually went down.
No. I mean, I think that if this went down and the Eagles moved up to, say they moved up number one and they were able to draft Wentz, the people are definitely going to criticize the move because of how much we're going to have to give up. But, I mean, if you're able to get a franchise quarterback in the draft, that's always a good thing. There's not many franchise quarterbacks left in the league anymore. I mean, there's a very few, of those top tier quarterbacks, especially now with Peyton Manning calling it quits. There's not many QBs that are at the top of their game. So if you can get a guy that's going to come in here and be one of those top flight guys for years to come, then maybe you have to do the deal.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think he's a great fit in what Doug likes to do. And if it happens, I'll have to bite the bullet with the amount of draft picks we give up for him. But I'd also be excited that the potential that Wentz has, and see hopefully we have a bright future from years to come. And who knows? Maybe in 5-6 years he's going down Broad Street with the Lombardi Trophy. We can all dream, can't we?
It makes Wentz. It does. All right, let's talk about why Howie Roseman would do this deal and kind of, the maneuvering of the pieces that has been going on during the offseason, why this might happen. So, obviously the Eagles, they went and they re-signed a lot of players. And they went and spent some money in free agency. But what Howie did, this is something he usually does, but he backloaded these deals, and he signed younger talent, younger free agents like Rodney McLeod and Brandon Brooks, backloaded deals. McLeod's 25. He got a 5-year, $35 million deal, but it's just a $2.6 million cap hit for 2016. You got Brooks, he's 26, 5 years, $40 million pact, but the cap hit is just $3.2 million this season. And again, I referenced this already. I mean, guys like Jenkins, Lane Johnson, Vinnie Curry, Sam Bradford, Zach Ertz, these are backloaded deals. So Roseman might look at those, acquisitions almost like, the acquisitions of Brooks and McLeod, almost like two high-priced draft picks. Because if the Eagles do decide to go and gamble and do all this maneuvering to get up to number 1, at least McLeod and Brooks, they're still going to be in their primes when Wentz is ready to start. And, by backloading the deals, by the time Howie gets his picks back, he's going to be using the picks and not spending money. So if you really kind of think it out, the pieces to the puzzle, they do connect.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a really good point you bring up. You talked about today in your Philly Influence article, really making some good points about that and Roseman. Really, this deal for Roseman, if he did this deal, it's either going to make or break him for the rest of his tenure here in Philadelphia. So it could be one of those things where, Roseman, he's finally back up from the basement of the NovaCare complex, and he kind of wants to, show Chip Kelly. He's going to be like, hey, Chip, look at these balls. He's going to bring out his big balls this time. A year ago, Roseman wasn't able to win the ball battle with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly won that time, but in the end, it was Roseman that won. Roseman's back in power now. So, it could be one of those situations where Roseman's going to, try to put everything on the line and make that big splash. I mean, he's already made a splash here in free agency, being able to move up the number 1 to number 8. So we'll see if he can move up from 8 to 1 now, which would be, it's quite the tall task. But, I guess we'll really see how big his balls are.
It does make Wentz, Adrian. It makes Wentz. There were some, great points you made with kind of how McLeod and Brooks become the de facto draft picks that'll be there for the next, for 5 years plus, hopefully, if their tenure's great with the Eagles. And they'll be ready when, those are holes we need to fill, and they'll be ready when Wentz is in his prime. And, it would be a big, ballsy move. Does Roseman have it in him? Adam Schefter reported that, the Eagles were kind of the X factor in this whole situation. So we've been aggressive. Howie's been aggressive. I think he's trying to make a statement, this offseason to prove that he knows what he's doing. He spent a year studying all these different franchises around the world and trying how to run a team and nonsense and all that such. So, it might work. It might blow up in his face. Kind of what we said about Chip Kelly when he took over control. It's either gonna be awesome or it's gonna blow up in his face. Well, we all know how that worked out. So now it's Howie's turn, and like Mike said, this is the ball battle. Let's see if he's really got those big cojones down there. And whatever happens, I just want what's best for the Eagles. And if this means getting us a championship in the next handful of years, and that's the move to make, then by all means do it. If it means staying pat and just drafting best player available, then do that too. It's all about, our faith is in Roseman and Peterson and company, and we just got to hope that that they make the right move.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it too, you compare this to last year when we were in the running for Marcus Mariota. What is it that we wanted to do? We wanted to make a double trade. We wanted to go from 20 to 13 and all the way up to 1 or 2. Well, we already made that first trade. We went from 13 and got up to 8. And you guys remember Howie Roseman during the combine, he said, well, there were 10 players that he really liked in this draft. Obviously, do some simple math. At 13, you're not going to get one of those 10 players most likely. So being at number 8, the Titans, they already have their quarterback in Marcus Mariota. They're at a point where they might want more draft picks, more ammunition to fix other holes. So they might want to go back to number 8. Maybe they don't see that big of a difference between a Laramie Tunsil and a Roddy Stanley. So they might do something with this, and they might also not ask for as much as maybe they did last year when Mariota. I mean, obviously the rumors came out of what the Eagles offered, and it was just preposterous the amount that we would have set them. But obviously the big, huge risk here are the draft picks. I mean, this is a number from Mr. Mikey Owens. Oh boy, is he going to be able to shake off that prior draft track record? 16 of the 48 picks that Howie Roseman has made during his tenure as GM, just 16 of those picks are still in the Philadelphia roster. So that's terrible, just awful right there. And you're talking about having to fill needs at going to have to find another cornerback, going to need to find a wide receiver, going to need to get a linebacker, going to need to get an edge rusher. I don't think Howie Roseman has the ability to find diamonds in the rough like Antonio Brown in the later rounds, and that's what he's going to have to do if he makes this trade. He's going to have to hit on his draft picks. They become obviously exponentially important now.
Yeah, and those numbers about the draft are probably a little bit different now because I did those numbers before the whole off season occurred this year. So some of the guys that we got rid of, etc. Like a guy like Riley Cooper or something, so you would have to account for that. So the numbers, but yeah, the numbers coming into the season, his draft history, it's not very good. And we're really putting a lot of faith in Roseman heading into this draft. I've been very worried about this whole situation with Roseman being in control. He's done a solid job just far in free agency, but the draft is a whole nother animal. The draft is that's really how you build your team. And he wasn't really able to do it before when he was a GM. So we'll see now that he's kind of back in power. We'll see if he can kind of get his feet back on the ground and kind of do things differently this time and make a difference.
Yeah, this draft could very well determine the next 3 to 5 years of the Eagles franchise. If the right moves are made, we could be a contender for years to come, like in '99 when we made the right move and took McNabb and not Ricky Williams, and then look at that, we were in the championship 2 years later, and 3 years later, or 4 years later, and back to back and back. So it's such a huge draft, and the fact that Roseman is running it, yeah, he's got help, which is great, but it's ultimately comes down to Roseman, and you can just say the name Danny Watkins, and all of us Eagles fans cringe of that 2011 draft. So, his track record isn't great, but like I said, I think he was humbled this past year. He went out and he did his due diligence studying. He's trying his best. He's working hard. I think we're on the right track. We made some good signings so far. He knows how to work the cap. He found these good young players to fill holes, and then fill holes on defense with guys that were previously worked under Jim Schwartz. So he's done well so far. The draft is a whole other animal. It takes a lot more talent evaluation and scouting to nail a draft, and that's where Roseman hasn't really, flourished in the past. So obviously this is huge, and we just gotta hope he makes the right move, because it'll either make us or break us for years to come, especially if he makes this trade and it does or doesn't work out.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say about it. Oh, now I'm hearing my own echo. Damn it, Google Plus. All right, here's what I have to say about this. When I first heard this rumor, I was just immediately turned off by it. Oh my God, this is the dumbest thing in the world, trading up to number 1. Obviously, you guys know my hatred towards Howie Roseman. Here's what I'll say. If he pulls the trigger on this trade, I will not say fuck Howie. No, I will not say it. All right? I might like this deal in the end. I might. I don't know. I really don't know yet. I'm on the fence. I would probably prefer us to not do it, but I wouldn't be opposed to it either. So there you go. We've never won a Super Bowl before, so why not try something else? Who cares if we fail? At least if we fail, bye Howie. At least you can say bye to him. All right, next topic that I wanted to bring up, because obviously there's more quarterbacks in the class than just Carson Wentz. There's more. There's Jared Goff. There's Paxton Lynch. There's Christian Hackenberg. There's Dak Prescott. All these different guys. So let's talk about Goff first. Let me steal Jeremy's line and let's see who wants to hop on the Goff cart. All right. So let's say Jared Goff is at number 6. He's there. He's available. San Francisco didn't trade up. Would you want to leapfrog Chip and take Goff at 6 and maybe give Baltimore a 3rd rounder? And draft him.
Boy, I mean that's a really tough call. I mean the problem is I'm not as certain with Goff as I am with Wentz. I mean Goff definitely has a possibility to be a franchise quarterback. The only problem with Goff is his ceiling isn't as high as Wentz's is, but I mean if Goff is there, it might be a situation where you might have to do it because I really don't know when we're going to get another opportunity to be this high in the draft and be able to draft a quarterback this high. So if it was a situation where we're only moving up to number 6. I would say maybe you would have to do it. I don't think that Goff is really worth that high of a pick, but I mean you might just have to do it because I don't think we're going to be in this position for a long time.
Yeah, I'd still stay at 8, and I'm pretty sure Vernon Hargreaves will be there. I really like him a lot, but I still would go Jack, Stanley, or Hargreaves or over Goff. That's just me. I wouldn't take any quarterback in the 1st round if it's not Wentz.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you. Goff was a guy that I somewhat liked early on in like the scouting process, and then the more I've watched of him, the less I've kind of liked. So I think Wentz is like really the only 1st round talent in this class. So even though you might not trade or might not be in the top 10 again, I don't know if Goff is worth it over, say, a Vernon Hargreaves. Who knows? Maybe Miles Jack does miraculously fall to us, and so yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Jeremy likes him because his last name is Jack and he has big muscles. That's why he likes him. But it's a very interesting situation. Now, the other model. I mean, Jeremy talked about this before with you draft Christian Hackenberg. Draft him. Ew. I mean, that's the Russell Wilson model. I mean, that's like trying to find that needle in the haystack. Seattle 2012 draft. Offseason, you signed Matt Flynn to a huge contract. Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick, beat out Flynn in training camp, and then obviously Wilson went on to win a Super Bowl with Seattle a year later. So you can hope that maybe you hit on one of those diamonds in the rough in the middle rounds. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to doing that, but I think if you can't get Wentz, nothing else makes Wentz.
Yeah, I mean it's the thing with Goff. It's tough. The way I look at it, I think that if at number 8, I think. Or even at number 6, if they were to trade up to there. I think if Wentz or Goff, if either one is there, I think they're going to take them. I just think that's the way that the Eagles are looking at this right now, the way that they've been talking about the quarterback position. I think that they're going to go with either one of those guys if they're there at that spot. So, yeah, that's how I think they're looking at it.
Yeah, they very well could be all in on whatever quarterback is in the top 10. I mean, they could both be very, very high on our draft board. Wouldn't surprise me. I personally would go, defense and Jack or Hargreaves, or I love Ronnie Stanley. He's a monster from Notre Dame. And you got your Dak Prescotts, your Christian Hackenbergs in the maybe 3rd, 4th round who that it's less of a gamble, but it could be rewarding if it works out, and you still get to keep all your first-round pick and second-round pick next year. You would still have those assets to build around, and the quarterback you draft, Hackenberg, Prescott, whoever, can still learn under Sam and Chase and learn under Doug. So, that's one way to go. There's been quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl that were diamond in the roughs. Your Russell Wilsons, your Kurt Warners, your Joe Montanas, your Tom Brady's these non-first round picks. It doesn't have to be a slam dunk first overall pick to win a Super Bowl.
It doesn't have to be, but the odds are higher. That obviously. But hey, what's the kid's name in Angels in the Outfield? It can happen.
Great movie.
It can happen. I forget his name now. Oh, I feel terrible. Oh.
Boyd's in it, though. That's all that matters.
Yeah. All right. Before we go, just some quick news and notes on the quarterback front. Doug Peterson, like I said earlier, he prefers individual workouts to pro days. And tomorrow he's going to meet with his fourth quarterback in 4 days. So Monday he saw Jared Goff. Tuesday he saw Kevin Hogan of Stanford. That's another one of those middle round flyers that you can make a move on. And again, Hogan's another guy that fits the offense. I mean, he's a smart guy. Again, Doug likes his smart quarterbacks. He's a guy that wins games. He does he's a tough guy. Wednesday today he met Carson Wentz. Tomorrow he meets Paxton Lynch. So the Doug Peterson quarterback tour continues.
Yeah, and kind of an interesting note is that Lori is also making the trip here to visit these quarterbacks. Not something that Lori usually does. He did do it with Geno Smith, obviously Lori definitely made the right decision there by deciding not to go with Geno Smith. And I couldn't tell you, I was so happy that year because that's the year when we picked Zach Ertz instead of Geno Smith. So I think that's why I'm such a big Zach Ertz fan, because I did not want Geno Smith. So yeah, we'll see what Lori sees in these quarterbacks. But the fact that Lori is going around and making the trips, with Peterson and Roseman to watch all these quarterbacks in person, I mean, it tells you that they're definitely drafting a quarterback at some point. But the fact that they're visiting these these top quarterbacks in the draft, it shows you that they probably have very high interest in either Goff or Wentz.
Oh yeah, I would bet the house that we are drafting a quarterback at some point, whoever it may be. I definitely agree with that. And Lori visiting these workouts as well is kind of a telltale sign to that. We think highly of these quarterbacks, and Doug Peterson. I like what he says when he's evaluating quarterbacks is who can pass the eye test. Just not even just individual throws and everything like that. Just the eye test. Just see how he goes about himself in the workout, and I think that's the simplest, just one of the best, most accurate ways to get at least a sense of the player. So Doug Peterson knows what he's doing. He played quarterback in this league. I have faith in Doug Peterson evaluating the quarterback position. So we'll see who we get.
All right. That is it. It's final thoughts time because in 15 minutes there's a pretty big game on tonight. So let's get the final thoughts. Let's get out of here, and by God, let's watch some hockey.
Yeah, it's a big Flyers game tonight. But my final thoughts, it wouldn't be a show if we didn't talk about our good old pal Chip Kelly. So today the report came out, NJ.com, about Chip Kelly and his relationship with the scouts here in Philadelphia. Well, let's just say that his relationship with the scouts was much like his relationship with Howie Roseman. Pretty much, when it came to draft time, Chip Kelly had his draft board. and the scouts would, come in with the players that they like. If Chip Kelly didn't like one of those players, well, that player got tossed in the trash can. So it was pretty much Chip Kelly's draft board, and that was about it. No, it doesn't seem like many other people had an influence on Chip Kelly's draft board. And, well, at the top of Chip Kelly's draft board was there was always a bunch of ducks, flying around up there. And I'm sure that the scouts, weren't too high on, guys like Josh Huff.
Oh, more Chip Kelly. All right, my final thought is the Flyers 8-2-2 in the last 12 games. We're hot. We're spitting fire. We got Ghosts. He's tearing it up. Rookie of the year. Claude Giroux had a great overtime winning goal the other night. We're on fire. Let's keep it going. We have 2 games in hand now on the Red Wings and still tied in the standings. So we control our destiny. Let's win.
All right, let's go Flyers. That's all I need to say. As long as I know who they're playing tonight, because I got it wrong the other day. I said they were playing the Oilers when they were playing the Jets. My bad. All right, huge game. Let's get ready for it. Let's get out of here. For Jeremy Burton, Mike Owens, I'm Adrian Fedke. I'm going to provide links to some of my work from this week for PhillyInfluencer.com. You can check out the Howie Roseman article I did today. So we're out. Go Flyers, baby.
Let's do it.